Hi, I'm Lightflow Fairson. Welcome to Blue Lotus Tarot Reading. Recently, my friend Ratatosk and I had a conversation about choosing your first tarot deck. Fortunately, we recorded it, and some of you might learn something from it, so here it is. Well, hey Ratatosk, I see that you've decided to do some tarot reading. That is great that you are interested in becoming a tarot reader, but I do cleanse each of my decks each time that somebody else touches them. So next time I'd appreciate it if you asked. I'm not mad at you, but it would just be nice if you asked. Well, I think that's a great idea. You getting your own tarot deck? Let's talk about how it is that you would get your tarot deck first. I know it's really confusing because there's so many tarot decks out there and there's just new tarot decks coming every day. I mean, I think everyone in the world has published their own tarot deck at one time or another. Well, first let's talk about what a tarot deck actually is so that we know what we're looking for. So a tarot deck has 22 cards that are called the major arcana. Those are the trumps. The only thing that's left over from the trumps now in our modern playing deck is the Joker. Then there's the 56 cards of the minor arcana. And those resemble, but they're not the same as the cards in our current playing card decks. So you have 1 through 10, and then you have what is called the court cards in the tarot. That would be the queens and the kings and anything that represents a person. And there's actually 16. Yeah, 16 of those. So you have a total of 78 cards in a tarot deck. Well, let's talk about how you get your first deck then. What I think we should do is you can choose a deck that you like and then I'll buy it for you because you should always get your first deck as a gift. I know you can't always make that happen and maybe it's kind of cheating to do it the way I suggested, but I don't think anyone's going to get mad at us if we do it that way. So how we get it, what I would like to do is go down to a local shop so that we can pick up the deck and we can feel it and we can look at all of the cards to see if we like them, and being able to feel the deck, that way we can really know if the deck wants us to take it home. So now when I did it, I got this deck, the Dark Woods deck, and I really liked it because it's set in the woods. There's a lot of female characters in it, which I like. It's dark, it's spooky. It ticks all of my boxes, but sometimes I found that the meanings of the cards were very different from the Waite-Smith deck. Like if we compare the Four of Swords in the Dark Woods deck and in the Waite-Smith deck, they look kind of similar. We've got three swords hanging up and we've got a figure lying down, but this is a knight reposing and solitary. That's what it means in the Waite-Smith deck. However, in the Dark Woods deck, we have this pervy guy sneaking up on a lady lying down in her sleep, and she's holding a dagger, and the daggers are hanging over his head, and the guidebook says it's about changing narratives. So that's a very different meaning. So when I found that I was researching the Dark Wood deck, I wasn't researching the Waite-Smith deck, and when I was researching the Waite-Smith deck, I wasn't researching my deck. And in the beginning, I found that confusing. Well, if you wanted to start complicated, you could try the Thoth deck. It's got kind of simple imagery that sometimes is just like 9 swords in a shape that might mean something to somebody else, but it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It's kind of got obscure symbolism that's harder for me to access. So to really start reading the Thoth deck, you really have to study the tarot first. The same is true of the Marseille deck, which is a deck that existed before the Waite-Smith deck. It's got very simple imagery. The pip cards are literally just 9 swords for the 9 of Swords. The court cards has pictures of people in them, but it's really hard to tell what those people are doing or who they are. So it's really hard to interpret. You really have to study and learn that deck before you can start reading with it. It's true the Major Arcana does have some clues to it, but not many. So if you want to really, really sink your teeth into the tarot before you start reading, try the Thoth deck or the Marseille deck. Those are two really challenging decks. Well, if you really like the internet, or if you just can't make it to a local shop, you could go to a website like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, where artists are trying to get funding to start their own decks. You can also go to Etsy. There's lots of cool decks on Etsy. Just be careful though. Sometimes people will label something as a tarot deck when it's only the major arcana. So they're literally not playing with a full deck. So make sure that there are 78 cards in there and not just 22. Finally, if you do go to Etsy, there's lots of good cards decks on there, but some people buy those decks on Amazon and then jack up the price. I've seen one deck on sale for on Etsy for $80 that was on Amazon for 20. So be careful. Yes, going to Amazon is a choice. You can get a lot of different decks for very cheap on Amazon, but it's not my first choice. No, Ratatosk. Not even this huge deck here has squirrels in it, and it's certainly not dedicated to squirrels. But this isn't a tarot deck. This is a clarity deck. It can help you clarify your oracle readings or your tarot reading. I'll tell you about oracle cards later on. But you can also use it to clarify your interpersonal communications. Or what I do with it is I draw one card each day, and there's a virtue on here, and I try to think about that virtue all day so that I can become a better person. Or maybe you can do it and you can become a better squirrel. Oh, this beautiful deck here with the silver gilding on the sides, this is actually an oracle deck. It is created by my favorite band to see live, Charming Disaster. Each one of these cards is based on one of their songs, so you can read about the meaning of the cards in their guidebook, or you can listen to the song that is based on the card and really get in tune with what that card means. I really love the deck. There's over 21 artists in here that they're supporting, and I just really like the novel approach of having each card linked to a meaning of a song. I've never seen that before, and I really like it. Oh, I don't know if there is an oracle deck dedicated to squirrels, but there might be. We should look for one if we found it. Don't you think that'd be nuts?